All right, first trading video of 2022. We're going to be going over my first week's trades for January. I'm doing this a little late. It is Monday, January 10th. I have the overall markets up, the NASDAQ here. Um, don't worry about this candle. That's what's going on this week. Top left is the 1 year, 1 week. This is what happened last week. We started at the top of the range and ended at the bottom. And as you can see, we cracked this support here, and now it's off to the races. Let's see what happens here. Hopefully, we get a much needed correction, because if you are to extend this chart, I mean, we are overdue, grossly overdue. I mean, this is just parabolic at this point. So, um, let's see. I mean, we got a long way to come back down, but let's back out of that. Let's get that back to here. And let's go over my first week's trades. Uh, Actually, this was my best week, I believe, so far. Um, I did get sloppier at the end of the week. I was trading non-ideal setups. I need to rein that in. The video I just posted, which I doubt many people will go through, I mean, I wouldn't. It's 40 minutes of me just rambling on, and putting maybe about a minute into each ticker for the month of December, or each trade rather. But basically, here's the gist of what I said. I overtrade, I trade not ideal setups, and that needs to change. It needs to change. I need to just focus on the absolute best plays. That's all the gurus and best traders say. Focus on the best setups, wait until you have an edge, and that's what I need to work on. Um, so I kind of I kind of updated my sheet a little bit. Like I said, obviously this is a game where you're in control, so I need to constantly update my stuff and improve it. So I'm sure this isn't the final iteration of how it's going to look, but um, this is going to be what I started the month with, and then I might finish it up with what I ended the month with over here. But started the month with 32.51, and I made 193 bucks, or with commissions, I made almost 100 bucks. So almost wiped out all of my December mistakes. I did make some mistakes today on Monday of next week, and they were some nasty ones. But we'll go over them regardless in the next video next week. But let's focus on last week. 18 trades, 11 wins, 7 losses. 60% win percentage, that's pretty good. Highest percent gain could have been way more. I took my profits, or highest dollar gain rather. Both of these could have been way more. I mean, it's the same trade, but I took my profits way too soon, as you'll see. When there's max panic, and we'll get into that, I need to make sure that I am leaving at least some on the table to capitalize on good bounces. And my highest losses, 30 bucks, and then my highest percent loss, which was not great, was over almost 7%. But I had such a small position, didn't really matter to the dollar amount. But I still need to watch out for these percent losses because they sneak up on you. And eventually, when my position size is larger, this could be a problem. Like it was today. I mean, I think I'm down 50 bucks today. I mean, that's just not okay on 2 trades. So, um, and the setup was not ideal. I traded it once, got out for a small loss, and then I traded it again and got out for a big loss. So, but like I said, we'll go over that next week. So, starting off Monday, as you could see, I was green all 5 days. Monday was my best day because of the one trade that we'll go over that was my best one here, the 13 and a half. But um, that's what I like to see. Look at this. I mean, December I traded 61 times. 61. 18 this week. That is a third of. Um, oh, let me see here. Excuse me, not 18. That's my bad. Let's see. I traded, excuse me, I traded 60 trades in the month, but I traded 18, which is significant for the week, but I mean, you'll be able to see that I think a lot of them were pretty good setups. Um, but let's get right into it. First trade, CELZ. I have noticed that I think I'm going to stay away from NASDAQ. I mentioned in previous videos that I've been trying to get good at NASDAQ, and I mean, OTCs have heated up lately, so I haven't been having to worry about NASDAQ like last week and this week, but inevitably I know I'm going to have to worry about it coming up. But I'm just not great with the NASDAQ plays. I get chopped out way too easy, but this one just not an ideal setup, you know. Um, but look at the overall chart. We're pushing huge gap up. We're pushing past these highs here at 320 area, and I wanted to see if it could go more. Um, I should have taken my profit off at the top, but I wanted to give this one a little bit more time because sometimes these things can bounce and continue on, especially if they're over a certain level or over a resistance level. But if you look at pre-market, I mean, it didn't reach pre-market highs, so I really just should have taken it off. But I took some profit, and then I took a loss here when it wasn't holding these levels. So good, that was a good trade. Uh, Small loss, but nothing huge. This was my best one, and ironic that I only took it for half of the, probably 40%, 35%, 30% of the move. Let's say 30 to 40% of the move. But we had this one-day spiker, history of one-day spikes, but obviously you don't want to be holding long. Right at the morning open, I didn't buy in here, which is what I need to learn December. I traded a lot in the first few minutes, and today I traded in the first few minutes, and that's what burned me. Um, I wanted to see where it would go or if it could consolidate, and I could see it wasn't touching VWAP. I could see it was pushing a little bit here, so I decided to give it a shot. I mean, not ideal. Maybe I should have been buying into here and then selling into here, waiting for a confirmation. That probably would have been the better trade now that I'm looking at it like hindsight. Um, but I mean, I had a risk of VWAP. This thing could have just as easily rolled over. Um, now that I'm looking at it, it's just not an ideal trade, but at least I did take profits when it looked like it was having some trouble right near the breakout level. So I ended up taking 13% on that. Not bad at all. Really though, I probably should have been buying into here. Um, maybe a confirmation of a breakout of there, and then I could have sold into this chop. But one day spikers I really shouldn't be doing too much because they just have a tendency to tank. So Mxsg, I missed the morning run up on this one. Oh, excuse me, this is the same ticker. My bad. I was thinking of another one later on in the week. Um, this wasn't ideal either. Now that I'm looking at it. I didn't wait for a confirmation. I knew that when I got in, and then it came down. But I acknowledged that it put in a higher low, so I wanted to give it a little bit more time, and it just didn't push higher. So I just took it off for some small gains, um, which is smart. That's just how it works. I mean, typically I would have held on and then probably sold into this crack, but I should wait for confirmation of a breakout and then see how these stocks react at the breakout, if they keep running or if they automatically reject. But, that's just an okay trade, with a clear risk here. Not really ideal, um, but we'll move on to the next one here. Same thing here. I mean, Gmpx, one-day spiker, up huge. Buying it midday, thinking that it's going to push higher. Um, and we had it come close to the highs of the day, try to test that, and then pulled back. That's where I bought into the weakness. I mean, you'll see a lot of these where they test, they pull back a little bit, and then they push. So good trade on my part. Um, I would have cut it if it broke this low. You know, if it broke lower here, I'd have just gotten out. But because of this uptrend, because of the overall trend of the chart, I mean, up until that point, you know, it was just uptrending, and that's what got me to get into it because of the overall trend. I just finished up this book, The Complete Turtle Trader, and they were talking about how, you know, the overall trend matters a great deal, and that's something I'm pretty sure in December I failed to acknowledge a lot of the time. You know, my longs, I'm getting in on trends that or stocks that are downward trending. Why would I buy something that's downward trending throughout the day? You know, you want to focus on the upward trending. So, should have kept in mind how far it was from VWAP, but it is what it is. I should have sold half and then let the other half ride a little bit longer, and I could have taken a good probably 10%. But it is what it is, or probably 8% or so. But, you know, decent trade there. Not bad at all. All right, we'll move on to Tuesday. Or Monday, you could see I didn't take any major losses, but I did take small gains. That's how you do it right there. You know, you cut your losses intelligently and you let your gains ride. I mean, if I let my gains ride, it would have been a even better of a day. So moving on to Tuesday. Tuesday right out of the gate, you know, we had this stock, second green day, held above the highs from the previous day, and I got in when it bounced at those highs and was pushing the highs of the day. I was going to cut it if it broke VWAP, and I sold too soon again. You know, that's my problem. You know, I need to sell half and then let the other half ride if it's an ideal setup. I mean, if you look at what it did the rest of the day, you know, I'm buying it, you know, 9 cents. This thing went up to 12 and a half cents. I mean, that's what? Let me just do that real quick. That's 30%. I mean, if you look at the overall trend, not that I would have ever taken the 30%. I probably would have, you know, best case scenario, I probably would have been out at, you know, maybe 9.7. So I mean, even that, whoops, at 7%. I mean, that would have been an excellent little gain. Regardless, I took some profit here, but I've been trying to take a little bit larger positions since I want to focus on only the ideal setups. Um, and that leads to decent gains even with small percentages. So um, let's see. I mean, overall bad sushi chart, you know, not great. I wanted to keep that in mind. That's why I took profits quickly because, you know, I'm sure there are a bunch of bag holders from back in here. But, you know, good little quick pop. But I need to be aware that you're not trying to make 2%. You're trying to make, you know, 5 to 10% on these ideal setups. If you're really trying to take a trade and it's an ideal trade, you want to make 5, 10% or more. Otherwise, it's not even worth your time. So I'll move on. Txmd, bad trade, and I knew this when I got in it. I missed the run up because I was focusing on this one, and I just was upset because this would have been a perfect, you know, buy from 50, you know, to 60. This was on my watch list. I was, uh, or it wasn't on my watch list. I'm thinking of a different stock. I apologize, but you know, I was upset I missed this, and I saw it break this little top wick here. I saw it break the 60s area, and I thought it might run. And it's not if it breaks it, it's what does it do when it breaks it. And it just quickly rejected, so I got out because I figured that was going to be it. And it was. I was the top. So good, good, quick loss cutting on my part. But you know, why chase this? You know, if it did push this, you know, there you go. Then you can just ride it. But um, you know, after two parabolic moves like this was just a trade I shouldn't have taken. Um, so moving on, ENZC. Uh, this was one where, yeah, I should have had a wider risk on it. If you look at the overall chart, this was one that had 2 green days. It was pushing third green day. I was aware of that. and was cautious going into it because these third green days can, fail right at the open, or they can spike and fail. So when I bought in here, that was probably a little early. I probably should have waited until the area where I sold. Let me scroll up a little bit. Where I sold my last shares, that's probably where I should have been buying, or not buying in here, but rather I should have been buying after you see that it held above red to green, pushed where it opened, and pushed the highs. This is where I'd want to be getting in. That's the ideal entry. Um, but I acknowledged it wasn't spiking. I sold a half at the morning highs there when it didn't look like it was going to push much higher, and then I sold half into a small crack. So taking those small profits there. And as it turns out, I turned around and got right in, right where I said on the previous one was an ideal entry. And I took it for a good little bit. I mean, that's half the move, took the meat there. I mean, yeah, I could have let it ride a little bit longer, but it's almost 6% in what? Uh, 4 minutes, 6% on your money. So not bad there. That's what I need to focus on. This is an ideal setup right here, where you have a stock that's in play, high volume, and push the highs early in the day when there's volatility, and then you take your profits quick. So that's not bad at all. ENZC again, I thought it was putting in these highs, but I should have acknowledged here that it put in these type of wicks, and I should have acknowledged that and waited for a confirmation. I did not wait, and that's what screwed me up here. I acknowledged that, and I got out for a small loss. I acknowledged that I didn't get in an ideal place. Um, so good trade there. Not a good trade, but a good recognition of a mistake before it became a bigger loss. Um, I probably wouldn't have bought this dip regardless. I kind of get a lot of the times when I buy dips to VWAP, I get screwed. So I probably wouldn't have bought that. Um, I don't know. I mean, you got your piece out of here in the morning, and unless it sets up later on in the day, it should be dead to me. Um, but not an ideal trade here. Actually, I would say bad trade, but at least I recognized that and exited for a small loss. And that's what this is about. You know, Under a 1% loss, and then taking almost 6%. So not bad at all. All right, we'll move on to Thursday. Cpmd. This was a decent little one. I was a little late entering this. I wanted to enter just a little bit lower, but I think I hit the ask, and that's why I got filled up higher. Um, but I acknowledged that this is a actual penny stock at 4 cents, and I acknowledged that it spiked and it didn't look like it was pushing much higher. So I just took my 6%. I mean 6% in 1 minute. I'm not going to complain at all. And that's what you want. You want these quick volatile moves. This is in the morning. Give it a little bit of time, 10, 15 minutes to set up, and then see if there's any edge. December, and today, especially today, I bought right out at the open thinking that something was going to go, and it screwed me. Um, and I didn't let it set up properly. Let these things set up, and if they don't set up how you want, just don't trade it. Um, but this put in higher lows, spiked, tried to push, consolidated for a minute or two, and then when it pushed those levels again, I took a quick little bit. Not a great setup, but I knew that going in and I took the profit. That's what matters. This is where I got a little over tradey here. Uh, Dogs, DOGZ. This one panicked or not panicked. I mean, it did panic, but I mean it's a Nasdaq, so it's kind of more of an extreme gradual decline, I guess you could say, from the 9 area, to the close at 350. But I was trying to guess a bottom. I mean, my first trade I get because, you had a bottom here, tried to come up a little higher here, bottomed at the same type of area, and then I tried to enter where I thought it was bottoming. But at the same time, I mean, I really should have acknowledged that, yeah, it bounced here and it may have bottomed here, but it did go a little bit lower and it tried to push but failed lower than here. So just not an ideal entry. And I acknowledge that and sold it. I should have sold it a little quicker, but I wanted to give it a second to see if it could bounce. My next trade on this was just not ideal at all, because now I was upset that I traded that and missed the bottom. Um, put in a few minutes of consolidation here. Um, I got in, put in a few more minutes, and I wanted to give it a little bit more time. But I had a small position. I was running out of buying power at this point because I traded so much. I had 370 bucks in this one, and then in this one I had 70 bucks. Um, and I cut it here. I mean, that's a huge percentage loss, but because of the dollar amount I had in it, I wanted to give it some time to see if we could get a significant bounce in here, but it just didn't bounce. But then I only had 10 bucks left, and it put in some significant consolidation here, and then started pushing a little higher and put in a higher low, little top wick here, and that's when I decided to get in with my $10, and I made almost 6%. So I think with the Nasdaq, like OTC panics are much easier to read. These Nasdaqs are really tricky. Um, really, I feel like, in my opinion, maybe what would be better if a Nasdaq panicked would be to wait for a bottom to be in, bounce a little bit, and then you'd want to see it dip and then maybe buy on a higher low, um, and then see if it can continue. So that's kind of what this did here. I mean, you had that push, and then it kind of sat there for a minute and then pushed again. Uh, so that kind of works, but it could have just as easily just rolled just like it did here. So I think I just got lucky on this one. Um, Really, what I should have focused on was the opposite end. I mean, this is a perfect short opportunity. Not that I short right now, but you know, overall trend. I mean, this is just how are you going to guess the bottom in something like this? So, just a beautiful chart. I mean, I saved this too. I mean, what a panic I mean, look at this months of uptrend and then a 1 day sell off. So, I believe this is a China pump. So, you know, China. Let's see. And then the next day, Friday, I missed the bounce on the same ticker, dogs. It put in a beautiful double bottom, and you could have bought on this reclaim of VWAP here, or you could have bought into this kind of push here. I mean, just beautiful. But at the same time, it's a China play. I really should just be staying away from them. I knew right when I bought in here that this was just not a good thing I did, because you already have a parabolic move off of something that sold so much, and then at the same time, like, where's it going to go? Because that's where it had that issue before it, around 450-ish. So yeah, it could have went maybe 10% or so, but it already ran. It already had a little bounce, or not little bounce. I mean, it went from 250, let's say, to, let's say, 380. I mean, it's almost 100%. No, wait, excuse me, I missed the decimal here. It's an 85% bounce right there. I mean, if you got the double bottom. Um, you know, Regardless of what you think how to do it here, I mean, yeah, you could buy on a double bottom and see, but I don't know, it's just so iffy with this. Regardless, this trade was just not ideal. This was a chase trade. I deserved to lose, but I had a small position because I acknowledged I was chasing, so I only had 200 bucks in it. Um, and we'll move on to the next one, TGGI. This is where I really did well this week, um, in terms of technical trading. Uh, these panics, TGGI, OTC panics. I love OTC panics. I'm really trying to get better at them. I saw this first panic and missed it. I just didn't think it was enough. And then we saw it bounce to VWAP, and then we saw it, start failing again. Uh, Panicked all the way down to the 8.008, and I got in at 0.0095. No, not near the bottom, but um, you know, I made 7%, but I sold way too soon. I mean, I left over 40% here. So I really should have taken maybe half off and then let the other half ride. Um, like I mentioned, I did that in one for last month, And yeah, sometimes they can fail and you end up losing on the trade or not making as much because you let the other half ride. But I mean, look at this is what you want on these major panics. Um, so just a good lesson for me that I need to be a little bit more patient with these things. And again, ILUS, another one. Panic down, cracked. I didn't get in here because I didn't think that was a big enough panic. Bounced up, and I thought I missed it. And then we got a nicer panic here, and I thought that was significant. So if you look at the overall chart, I mean, it cracked support, and that's where I wanted to get in, right about here. So I got in and made 3.5%, but I just as easily could have made another 10%. I wouldn't have held it into here. I mean, maybe if I'm looking at this price action, maybe I would have if I was patient enough to hold for like here or until here. But I just got to give these a little bit more time, take some profit, and then let the other bit ride when it's a perfect panic like this. And then this is where I got sloppy again. RGST, I was away from the computer. I heard my alert go off. I came back to the computer, and this was one that I missed in the morning. I saw it dip to VWAP and then start pushing again. And I mean, it went from 40 to 50. So I mean, I missed 20% here, over 20%, and I was kind of upset about that. So I wanted to see this thing, if it could ramp and break out some more. But I was too eager. I hit the ask, and the spread, as you can see right here, I mean, the spread 48.5 to 53.5. That's already 10%. So why am I going to hit the ask on a stock that's, as you can see, illiquid, a one-day spiker with top wicks in the afternoon, um, and I hit the ask. Just a dumb trade. I knew that as soon as I got in. I gave it a little bit of time because it was holding up, and it just didn't push. There were no buyers came in, and I should have just waited a little bit longer, um, and I ended up selling for a decent loss. So, you know, just a bad trade. As you can see, I mean, I neglected the volume, daily chart. Overall market was bearish at this point, so just not ideal. And then I got into ENZC. That was my last trade for the week. Um, ENZC, we had a major morning like gap up. As you can see on the daily, this is what you want to focus on. These stocks that are actually pushing breakouts. We had this morning push to almost where the breakout was, dip down to red to green, put in these consolidation areas, and then start to curl up. And I wasn't interested in any of here, but I did put a price alert, and then I got notified when it broke. I think it was like 13.8 or something, and then I was watching it. And right when it pushed VWAP here and held, I got in with a risk of VWAP, and I wanted to see if it could push because we had all these, all this from the day underneath. And yeah, we got a push. I ended up holding through all this support. That was making me anxious there, but I need to learn to be more patient, like I've mentioned on these dip buys and everything. And we got another push. Um, so I didn't take profits. I tried to take profits at 14.6 here, but it just skipped my order. So I took it a little bit lower, and decent trade. You know, um, not a perfect trade. Not perfect by any means. Not a perfect setup, but just acknowledging what the trend is doing and seeing if there's a potential edge, um, and then taking profits realistically. So, not a bad week. As I look back, I mean, I thought that I was doing really well with ideal trades, but I can see that a lot of these were not, you know, just as ideal as I'd like them to be. And I started off this week Monday with not ideal plays. I'm just getting tired of making these mistakes. So I really just need to maybe I need to just sit further away from the computer. I need to just work on my discipline. That's what I need to do. Um, but overall, I'm happy with my results. You know, green every day. I won more than I lost. How can you complain? That's how you make money in trading. But now I need to be more cautious because I've focused on longs and the market is you know, the overall market. Whoops, that's my profitly here. Sorry about that. I mean, if you look at the overall market today, let me see, let me pull it up here. It's actually coming back, but you know, I mean, just ugly overall market. Wouldn't surprise me if it were to come back up to 370s area, 380. Excuse me, high 370s, 380 to this resistance, and then reject. And then I would assume that that's a confirmation that we're gonna be in for it. So I just have to be more careful. Uh, I was not careful today, and that's a good lesson. But yeah, thanks for sticking around. 30-minute video. Like I said, I think I'm gonna or I think I'm going to discontinue daily recaps just because that's a lot to do. I'll do weekly and monthly. Um, but yeah, overall, I'm not disappointed with my I'm not disappointed with my first week, and let's see if we can keep this going. Just focus on the best setups, and when you make a mistake, just acknowledge it and move on. You know, there's no point in stewing over it. So, all right, thanks a lot, guys. Stay safe out there.